Hello, this is Mark from Sound Matters. Welcome back to the channel. We're out on the road again today visiting some record stores, part of the new series of record shopping and pub hopping. So we're going to go to a couple of record stores today outside of London. I recently did a whole bunch of record stores in the Soho area and some beautiful historic pubs to boot in the process. Lovely day. All right, so as you can probably hear, you're going to have to bear with me ever so slightly with the wind noise in this due to just using this on the road at the moment. There's only so much I can do. I've tried to remove some of that wind noise, but really I need to get a portable microphone for this camera so we can improve the production values, and also a gimbal which will help with that as well. So there's lots more stuff I can do on the road, going to manufacturers, going to pressing plants. There's a lot of stuff we can do to diversify the content on this channel, make it more engaging for you guys. If you'd like to support me in doing so, you can head to my Patreon page. No pressure, of course, but you get bonus content each and every week, and the donation will help to improve the production values and keep this channel going into the future. Thank you very much for your consideration. And today we're moving outside of London to somewhere closer to home to me, a place called Bedford. In the actual town where I live, just south of here, there are no record stores. So if I want to find a record shop, I have to get to a larger town. There's some charity shops that sell records, and then there's also an antiques place that has a bit of a pop-up area for records. But for an actual record shop, I have to go further afield. So we're in Bedford today, just north of where I live. And we're on the River Ouse here in the Embankment area, which is actually one of the more sort of pretty areas of the town before you get into the town centre itself. So yeah, second in the series. Hope you enjoy this. We're going to hit up two record stores today. We're going to go find Slide Records, which is in the arcade area of Bedford, and then there's Thirsty Records just up the road as well. Let's get straight into it. Just going to pause here for a second to highlight this pub behind us here. It's actually, well, a pub, more of a restaurant really. It's called the Embankment. Beautiful mock Tudor building there, built in 1891, I believe, next to these Victorian villa houses. And then next to it, there's this post-war monstrosity of the flats. I mean, I don't really know what we were thinking in the post-war years, but how you could build that next to this timbered mock Tudor beauty, I have no idea. Just about to get into the town centre now, but wanted to highlight the remains of a Norman castle here, built by William II after the Norman conquest of Britain, of course. The castle was finally completely destroyed in 1224, and this mound is all that remains of it today, but still an amazing little bit of history that just connects us to the past of the town, which actually goes back to the Saxon times, but of course there's a lot of history through the different eras of British history. So town centre is just that away. Let's carry on. Promise you I'll get to that record store soon. So I'm at the arcade now, which is where Slide is. This is a Edwardian, I believe, shopping arcade. It's actually quite pretty, one of the nicer shopping features of the town. This was opened in 1905, I believe, and it's just down the road here behind me. Let's go into Slide Records. Let's get there. How's business for you guys these days? Yeah?
Not too bad for a little record shop in a
Yeah.
town. Considering we're selling an out-of-print format in a blind magazine.
Yes.
Not too bad.
Excellent. That's good to hear. It's a really nicely divided up shop. You've got the usual rock and pop section, of course, but then there's others, including Indian alternative, funk, soul and disco, hip hop, and the jazz section, where I ended up. You will also see music books, record accessories, and evidence of the owner's DJ background. I did have a browse through the pop and rock section, as I usually do, but in this instance, my search ended up in the jazz area. And a slight detour into funk. What can I say? I've got eclectic taste. So here we are outside Slide with my pickups. Two records I've picked up, one jazz, one funk. So we'll head to a pub now where I can debrief and tell you a little bit more about it. This is the first pub I'll go into. It's called Flowerpot. I believe it is one of the top 3 oldest pubs in Bedford. So looking forward to a well-earned pint in the Flowerpot.
Yeah, well, no,
Thanks.
Your own YouTube channel.
Yeah. It's actually more music focused, but I'm doing a series going record shopping in different towns, and then followed by a few historic pubs. So
So you've just
Yeah.
been down Thursday Records.
I'm about to go there next. I've been to Slide. Yeah,
Slide's
just
really
been
good.
there.
It's
Yeah,
a nice shop down there.
it's a lovely shop. They're very friendly in there as
I
well.
like my vinyl.
Do you? Yeah.
Well, in here as well. It's very good down Thursday.
Yeah, I'm about to go there next. So just like that, the sun has somewhat got his hat on. It was pretty miserable when we got started, but I've just been to Slide and it was an absolutely fantastic record store. The owners, Warren and Neris, were so friendly and so helpful. I asked them if it was okay to film. I've learned that lesson somewhat from last time. And it was, it's very quiet, very different environment to going into a record store in London. But they didn't mind me filming whatsoever. They really didn't mind. So I took some panning and said, would you like to plug the record store? They didn't really want to. They didn't really want to be on camera. And I totally get that. They didn't want to be interviewed and they hadn't expected this to happen today. So I will tell you a little bit about them and just my experience so that you know what it was like. So they started in 2017. It's all new vinyl down that arcade area in Bedford. And as I say, they're incredibly friendly, incredibly helpful. They will talk to you about music as much as you'd like to. They'll give you recommendations. I asked him for a recommendation for more John Coltrane stuff, and his lovely wife, Neris, actually picked this out, Giant Steps. So very grateful to that. I look forward to enjoying that one. He mentioned the Tone Poet series of records, of which I have the John Coltrane Blue Train pressing from the Tone Poet series, and that's a fantastic sounding pressing. They always have sort of, going back to the best sources possible for those particular records. In terms of the pressing and cutting them. These are the kind of conversations that you can have with people in record stores, get recommendations, add a bit more serendipity back into your music experience, discover new things, feed off of other people, get recommendations, as I say, and I think it just really enhances your experience as a music enthusiast, as a music lover. It's just, you can't get the same thing from getting to the end of an album on Spotify or Tidal or whatever it is that you use, and then it just randomly recommending things that it thinks you might like. It's not that human experience in the same way, is it, that I've just had down at Slide Music. So that was absolutely fantastic. The other record I picked up just because I saw it on the wall and I absolutely love Sly and the Family Stone. I've got the album There's a Riot Going On, which has It's a Family Affair on, and I just wanted to add this one to my collection and expand my collection of Sly and the Family Stone stuff. So I decided to pick that one up too, but I spent probably about an hour in that record store. I could have spent longer. It was just a great experience, chatting about music, chatting about their business, how they work with local music venues like Esquire's, the local live music venue up the road as well, and how much that ties in the whole music community in the town. All of that stuff, I think we just need to remember, is just so important for the human element of what we do and how we enjoy music, and how much more there is to be enjoyed when we embrace that kind of thing. If we're just entirely online, and that's exactly why I'm doing more of these series, this episode, getting out to more record stores, because I think it's that important, particularly as we go into the world of AI generated stuff. There's even AI generated bands now. Rick Beato was talking about a band recently I saw on his YouTube channel that was entirely AI generated. So I think we need to reclaim more of that human experience, and certainly record stores like that are 100% part of it. But lovely people, lovely store, lovely experience. I highly recommend it. If you're in the Bedford area, do check out Slide. As for the pub itself, absolutely fantastic pint of Timmy Taylor Landlord, a Yorkshire classic these days that you can get from a lot of pubs around the UK really, but it's very consistent, very lovely. Just as I was doing those pan shots of the lovely beams in the actual proper part of the pub, I got talking to a couple who were just having a casual drink. As I was panning around, they asked me sort of what I was doing, and when they heard it was around record stores and everything, they got talking to me about their experiences at the different record stores, their record collection as well. And it just goes to show you how the two places, record stores and classic English pubs, people are always willing to talk, and it's so important. They're both just as important as each other from a communal aspect. So a lovely experience, and you just never know who you're going to bump into. It's just really nice to talk about music, really nice to just have that communal aspect and that human touch. Right, so the next place is called Thirsty Records, which I believe is also a cafe as well. So let's take a look. It's a little bit more specialist in used records, this one. So a different offering altogether from Slide. So interested to see what we find in here. Small world though, isn't it? If you've seen my channel, yeah, small world, isn't it?
Well, we don't watch telly anymore, we watch
No, neither do I. Join the club, join the club. You sell guitars as well?
Yes, they're normally in the window, but with this weather,
Yeah,
I can't have anything in the window.
they're all second hand.
Yeah,
Yeah,
everything we sell are second hand.
yeah, yeah.
The coffee's fresh, but
Yeah,
So the attitude of
it's not second hand coffee. Yeah. Where did you guys open?
We've been open 2.5 years now,
Oh yeah, yeah,
which is quite a milestone in this day and age.
yeah. Absolutely. Yeah,
Be open
yeah,
3.5 years.
yeah.
A lot of shops struggle to open for a year.
yeah, it ain't been easy. Huh?
It's not the easiest business, is it? But
It's one of these kind of places that's like, you know, you don't go for a haircut every day. You don't,
Yeah.
but it's a bit like that. You know?
yeah. But it's a passion, though, right?
Right?
It's a passion, though, right?
Well, he's been a DJ for
Yeah.
25 years prior
Yeah.
to that.
Yeah. Time for a quick browse. I've never come across a record store with a residential cat before. Just love that. So, just finished up at Thirsty Records. Met James and Jim there. Certainly brightened up from earlier, hasn't it? It was a bit miserable earlier, but now it's looking lovely. So I'm heading to a pub now where I can talk to you about some of the records I picked up whilst I was there, called the Wellington Arms. Absolutely lovely people at Thirsty Records, both James and Jim, as I say, who I spoke to, and also their record store cat called Sylvester. So nice guys, they immediately greeted me in, and one of them actually recognised me from the channel. So small world, small world. But what did I pick up from Thirsty Records? Well, I saw this on the wall, first Led Zeppelin album. Just don't have this in my collection yet. The guy was kind enough to play it for me just to make sure it was in good condition. Not a particularly early pressing or anything like that, but nice to add it to the collection. Nothing particularly wrong with it. It's got a minor scuff on there, but it's nothing audible. So I thought I'd grab that. Quite reasonably priced records there as well, and the guy was actually quite quick to just stress that he was fair with his pricing, and he thought that actually some places just price things just that little bit too hard. And on top of that, afterwards, he sort of just thought this might be a curious thing to add, and you wouldn't have any copyright issues putting it on YouTube, is some RAF pilot sounds. It's a record that has no value whatsoever, so he just gifted this to me and said, look, if you do something with it, you do something with it. If you don't, you don't, but take it, you know, see what you can do. And it's an RAF pilot who famously, apparently, Douglas Bader, who famously lost his legs and then went back up and apparently got back in the plane and carried on. So, you know what, I might do something with this on the channel because I won't have any issues with copyright on it, and we'll see where we go. But if I do, if I don't. But nice of him to offer it. It's just, you know, part of that communal aspect of record collecting, which I think is just absolutely fantastic. And then on top of that, I just carried on browsing, picked up a copy of Peter Gabriel's The Car album, has Salisbury Hill on it, just because I haven't heard this album in ages and don't have it in my collection. And then on top of that, practically a new record, Queens of the Stone Age. I have the Songs from the Deaf album, and saw it, just thought this looks practically new. It's a great price at 20 quid. So decided to just throw that one into the mix as well. But as I say, those guys could talk for England. They just carried on talking and talking, but super friendly, really passionate about what they do. there's a nice mix going on there. It's, there's nothing fancy about it. Obviously, Slide, much more of a tidied up record store, much slicker in its production. This is much more rough and ready. But if you're looking for a used bargain, I think it's a pretty good place to go. And they're super friendly people. So this next bit was completely unplanned. I ended up interviewing the landlady of the pub. But stick with it, because I think you'll be surprised just how much in common these places have. Record stores and pubs from a community centre aspect. So I'm sat here with Liz, who's the landlady of the Wellington Arms. We've just obviously gone through the records, but Liz is very passionate about the history of this pub, and so I thought it'd just be interesting to sit down with Liz now and just get a brief introduction of what the history of this pub is. So yeah, Liz, take it away.
Well, so the Wellington Arms, it's 4 cottages all knocked in together. So these cottages were built about 1830, 1840, and that part of the pub was the initial part of the pub alongside, so number 40 and 42 Wellington Street, that was what the initial pub was made up in about 1870. And then at some point since then, it's incorporated both these 2 little cottages here that are on Princess Street. Once upon a time, this entire area were just rows and rows and rows of 2 up, 2 down cottages. The whole lot was demolished in the 60s. Yeah. And the Wellington is the only little bit of it that survived, and it just stands out as a little beacon amongst all the kind of 1960s monstrosity car park that sits next to us. But, you can park there if you visit, though, so it's free for 2 hours.
Handy for that. But you often see that, don't you? That during those post-war developments, it's like the one thing that's still standing is the pub.
It is, yes. I'm so pleased that it is, And in fact, actually, the balloon on the corner is a pub. It is literally a stone's throw from here. And that was built in 1850 as well. Yeah. So people think that's a modern pub, or more modern, because it's got the faux Tudor on it, but it is actually from the 1850s too. Yeah, more of a facade. So we both managed to stick it out, whereas the rest of the areas just
people just didn't want to give up their local pub. I suppose,
thank goodness, and it helps bring a lot of character. We've still got. You can still see where the old doors were on the inside. You can see if you look on the outside, we've still got an old ghost sign for Charlie Wells, and we've still got an old Banks and Taylor sign out there. Even though they don't have the pub anymore. I still like to keep it because I feel like it's a part of the pub's history.
It's part of its history.
So it's nice to keep it.
Absolutely.
And, the more clutter, the better, really.
Absolutely. Lots of breweryana around this place. I mean, what kind of pub is it? It's kind of an ale house, or traditionally has been sort of a speciality ale house?
We sell real ale. We sell whatever anybody really wants to drink. You know. I don't like the stereotype of a real ale pub. I don't really think it does us justice. Sure. We have a wide variety of young and old people who drink here. We're trying to get rid of that stereotype of real ale drinkers being old people, because we're finding that we're having a whole swathe of younger generation happy to come in here and drink and sit and talk. So we don't really have music on in the background. So we do try and people come and have a conversation. That's what pubs are kind of used to be all about. Come and socialise and chat with your friends. And I think that a lot of young people are realising that the Wellington is somewhere that you can do that.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I've noticed today with what I've been doing, as I said, I went to the record stores in town, is that they're absolutely community hubs, and that's one thing these places have in common.
Oh,
is that this is a community hub. It's all focused on the conversation. People can, you've got great beers on, whether it be cask beers, whether it be on tap or whatever people want to do, but the most important aspect is the community side of it.
Absolutely.
And it's the same thing when you go into these record stores. People just if you strike up a conversation with people, you can't imagine. It's becoming so important, that kind of side of things, particularly in our day and age. Everything being online, everything.
Well, it's about finding these little pockets in our towns. And it's a sense of community as well. We're a big supporter of small local businesses. I am a small local business myself, and those places are as well. So we will all do our very best to support each other. You know, I know that I often, well, not as often as I probably could because my record player's knackered, but you know, we'll go to Slide Records and they'll, you know, they will support us, we will support them, as a lot of small businesses in Bedford do the same.
Yeah.
You know, even a lot of it's going online, but the rest of us that are still left surviving, we're trying our very best to, you know, big up the ones of us who are left, really. We're kind of, you know, trying to hold on to our little small town community that we have.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's absolutely fantastic. And I think that's sort of what's driven me to do this series, is that we don't want to lose those communal aspects in our towns. Record stores, and I just couldn't help but tie it together with something like community pubs, where it's just these places that connect people, and I think it's absolutely fantastic. And you can go into, you know, bringing it back to pubs and what you're all about, and tying the two things together, because obviously my channel is more focused traditionally around records and record collecting, but I found myself kind of sitting there thinking, I'm in this room the whole time talking to people online, but really what's important that we need to not lose is that communal aspect that you could easily lose to Amazon. You could easily lose to, you could lose your business to supermarkets, and it's just, if we lose that in our communities,
then we've got no one, we'll never speak to
then there's
anybody
nothing
again.
left. Yeah.
But it's, I mean, going back to somewhere like Slide Records, my husband has very different taste of music than I have, and I don't, you know, so I can go in there and say, he likes this, what else, you know, what else will he like?
Yeah.
And because they have such a great broad knowledge of everything that they have, or not even, you know, all they can get in, you know, they can help me out and buy something, and that you can't really pay for that sort of knowledge.
No, yeah.
You can't pay for that knowledge.
Funnily enough.
And it's the same goes for in here. You want to, you know, talk to us about beer, we can bore you about beer for as long as you want. Well, try, you know, give it our best shot. You know, because we're all very passionate about what we sell. You know?
Absolutely, and that's funny enough. That's exactly what I did. I went into both record stores, had a conversation, asked them for recommendations, just as I could walk into here and say, right, what's good on tap right now?
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
It's that same
that's
thing.
It. And also, you know, you'll find that people who work in pubs, people who work in the record shops, we like having conversations with people.
Funny enough,
you know?
almost similar types of people. Yeah. This is the connection I've done. It might seem like a loose connection, but I don't think it is.
I think you're right. It you know, there's got a lot more in common than you probably thought in the first place. You know, absolutely.
Yeah. And you have bands on here occasionally?
We do occasionally. We'll have local bands on occasion. The problem is, because we haven't got much room, it can. We've had the Pride. I don't know if you know the Pride. They're a 9-piece ska band.
Yeah.
And it's, I have to say, it can get pretty chaotic in here because there's a lot of them, and they're very popular. And the same with Skimmington or the Duzzies. You know, everybody wants to come and see them, which is fantastic. But but this is the sort of pub that suits that sort of music. You know, it's just people having a bit of fun and having a little bit of a dance and having a drink and meeting friends. You know, it suits this pub, I think.
It's a great atmosphere, and these old buildings are always a challenge to fit something in. You have to find a corner, don't you? Whether it be this corner or that corner or whatever it might be.
And then you're trying not to block the space to the outside, try not to block the space to here and there. Yeah. But like I say, because it's a load of old cottages, it's not really built. It's not built for a venue, you know.
Never built for it, but
it's not built for it at all. But that's part of the charm, I suppose.
I think it is. I think it is, and long may it continue.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. Well, thanks for the overview, and
it's my pleasure.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers.
Long live the Welly.
Cheers.
Cheers. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Very different experience to the London record shopping. Very different places. I found actually just much more chatty. But there you go. You're outside of a city, aren't you? You know. But then again, I did introduce myself, and really I think it's worth doing that. That's what I've learned from this process. If you just talk to people, but then again, that is why we love record stores so much and why we love these local pubs so much. But those, you don't get local pub. You get fantastic pub interiors in somewhere like London, but you don't get the community aspect like that. You know, the conversations, they just wanted to talk about the history, they wanted to talk about why they were passionate about it, and the regulars as well. Not all of that went on camera, but they were passionate about the history of the whole town. So after I spoke to Liz about the history of the pub, some of the regulars started to chip in. They started to chip in about other elements of the local history. They were very passionate about it. And when I spoke to the record store owners, as I say, the guy at Thirsty, the fact that he gave me that free record, I mean, I know he said it had no monetary value, but he didn't have to do that, you know. He was just opening up a conversation about something that he's passionate about. We just need to preserve my hair, goodness me. We need to preserve that aspect of things, particularly as the world of AI gets stronger. And, you know, yeah, I'm kind of rambling now, but you get what I'm saying. So that's what it's all about. That really is what it's all about. That serendipity that I always talk about in terms of record collecting. You ain't gonna get that from Amazon. And you know what? You're certainly not going to get that also from your local supermarket. Now, we started near the Norman Castle Mount, and we're going to end the day. This is my last stop at the castle, just down here. Thanks ever so much for watching. Keep spinning the records, support your local record store, support local businesses in general. And that's it from me. See you in the next one. Cheers.